Hi, my name is Alana Hibbensteel from Pharmacy Times. Before we get started, one of our top articles today is about cancer politics and policy during the COVID-19 pandemic and discusses how COVID-19 is changing the future of community oncology. There's more of that on pharmacytimes.com. Today, I'm speaking with Susie Soloman of the Pharmacist Moms Group about her recent lecture on the power of social media to advance the field of pharmacy. To start off, why is the use of social media important for the field of pharmacy right now?
So I think that, right now it's important for pharmacists more than ever because we're frontline workers and people can actually see what we are doing and what we can do. I think that it's critical. A lot of times pharmacists are, they're worried about what the public perception of a pharmacist could be. And I think now we're really right at the forefront where things could change. Even how pharmacists are able to now provide COVID testing. I think that that's a big deal as well, and that we need to let people know that we can now, test for COVID as well. And that's a step in the right direction for the pharmacy profession. And so I think that, with social media, we know that everybody's using it, everybody's on it. So it's our chance to kind of get our voice out there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And you touched upon that point. The role that social media has is in connecting pharmacists with patients and really educating patients on what exactly pharmacists are capable of doing to support them during COVID-19. In regards to beyond COVID-19 related issues. You touched on this in your lecture, but just really briefly, what are some of the benefits of using social media in the field of pharmacy for professionals more broadly?
So I think there are so many issues that are facing pharmacists today, and some of the issues that I talked about during my talk were provider status. I think that's an issue that's been happening in pharmacy for at least the past decade, for over a decade. So I think that we can use social media as a platform to help propel us into provider status, to make pharmacists have provider status. The other issues are like DIR fees. We were talking about that, the clawback fees that where pharmacies have to pay money to dispense the medication. We need to talk about that. We need to get that into mainstream media.
Yeah.
Creating the pharmacist more as human, the humanism, showing that other side of the pharmacist will really help tell the story. And I think the other part is with the patients, having the patients increase their trust in the pharmacist, to see us as the medication expert. And I also think that letting people know that there are different fields and opportunities, that pharmacists all don't just work in a pharmacy, that there are so many different pharmacists who are performing various functions within pharmacy. And I think that's critical as well,
Yeah.
to let people hear those stories and let them see what pharmacists are doing all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of how social media can, you were talking a bit about social media's ability to broaden horizons in regards to career possibilities. Would you mind touching on that maybe a little bit more, like how social media can advance pharmacists' career opportunities in the future?
Yeah, I think that, once we can change the perception so that people can see what a pharmacist can actually do, it can increase our scope of practice. And also, I think also in terms of connecting. So you can reach out to a physician or a nurse, and you can all of a sudden broaden your interprofessional connections. And then someone might say, hey, we're looking for a pharmacist on our team, or we need a pharmacist in this area. And you can begin to show and showcase your skills to other healthcare professionals. You can also let people know, I work in the ICU, or I work in CCU, and this is my background and this is my training. And, I've done this area. And even within your community pharmacy, there are so many pharmacists who are performing different tests. They're going through blood pressure readings, just letting patients know what a pharmacist can do above and beyond. Moving past that campaign, I think a lot of pharmacists will say, well, most people think of a pharmacist that we just count pills, but we are so much more than that.
Yeah.
And it's really our job, I think now more than ever, to use social media to show everything that the pharmacist can do. I was actually watching CNN last night, and Alicia Keys performed this one song about everything going on. And
Yeah.
she showcased one of the pharmacists, and there was that picture of the pharmacist who was behind the curtain at Elmhurst Hospital in New York. And it was really touching. And it was like, you know what, here's the pharmacist. This photo made, mainstream media. So, social media can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you were talking about the way that social media really allows not only for patients to understand the scope of what pharmacists are doing, but also understand them more as people. Just kind of building on that, how can that, you were kind of talking about connecting with the humanity of pharmacists. How can that advance, patient pharmacist relationships?
Well, we know that, improved perception or, can improve outcomes. So when patients see the pharmacist as a human or more human like, the outcomes improve actually. And when you can relate to a patient, when they see you as, whether you're a mom or, a parent or whatever you might be, what, oh, my dad was diagnosed with something similar to you, wherever you can fit in, and they can see that you've gone through something similar, or you can relate to them in a different way, and they see that side of you. You know what, I am really tired, I am hungry, I didn't eat lunch today. All of a sudden that changes everything. That changes their perception of the pharmacist. So there's a patient might come in and say, what do you mean a pharmacist's on break? But when they hear, what, this person's been standing all day, they haven't eaten, they've been working all day. So we really need to let people become aware of the issues that pharmacists are facing. It's not just all black and white, and a lot of them aren't aware. And we know that, again, patient outcomes improve. We know that burnout can directly impact patient outcomes as well. So when healthcare professionals are more burnt out, patients don't do as well. So we want to make sure that pharmacists aren't burnt out, and we want to make sure that patients' outcomes can actually improve as well from that.
I'm curious a little bit as to what that, and this might be a little bit. You were speaking to the campaigns that social media allows for in terms of kind of raising awareness, and not only allowing for advocacy on the part of pharmacists, but also on the part of patients. Would you say, you're talking about burnout? Would you say that that is an area of focus within that kind of campaign sphere, in your experience?
I mean, it could be. There are campaigns related to that. I think though that none of them that I know of in pharmacy at least have made mainstream media, but I think we can get there. So I think talking about what pharmacists are enduring, throughout the day,
Yeah.
getting more videos out there, what they're actually doing, that, they're not just putting a label on something, that this is
Right.
actually what is taking place. And if we have campaigns that everyone can participate in, that we join forces, I think that that's important too. I think, one person or one group doing a campaign is not going to be successful. But if you have a lot of pharmacists participating to show, hey, this is what we do and this is what we stand for,
Right.
that's when big changes happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in terms of, you touched upon some potential risks for pharmacy professionals, mainly in regards to the importance of recognizing that what you post on social media stays on social media. Um, are there any potential risks in the patient pharmacist relationship in regards to social media?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you should not be giving out advice. It's not a one size fits all. So as a pharmacist, we're pretty much aware of that as well. So you don't want to make a dose advice or recommendation for every single person. Everyone is individualized. So you probably need to have those disclaimers saying, this is just a general, general information for your education, but it doesn't apply to everybody. So you do have to have those disclaimers as well.
Right.
I think that's important. Yeah, definitely. Great point, because you don't want to just, say anything to anyone, and they might have kidney failure or
Sure.
something else going on. And then, they need a different treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you were talking about some best practices in regards to pharmacists' use of social media. Really briefly, what would be kind of a brief overview of what some of those best points are?
So I think the main things are that, like, showing you're human. I know I keep going back to that, but I just think that, you know, Dr. Google or Google is here to stay. Patients are going to look things up on the internet. They are going to contact you, and being able to relate to them and and be able to say, what, I saw that you looked this up, and this is how it can impact you. This is how this medication works. This is how this medication works. Being able to explain to them what they've read, staying human with them so they know like who you are, what your background is, so that you're not just this big pharmacist on top of a stage or a stool. When you think about the media and the movies and stuff, sometimes the pharmacist is some scary person behind the counter, and you don't even get to talk to them because the technicians are doing all the talking. So
Yeah.
making yourself more personable, I think, is really important. I think that that's also critical, is being personable so that you're approachable. People want to talk to you as well. I think that remembering what you put out there is critical. I think that, if you put anything out there, that it's there forever. So you need to really be cognizant of what you're writing. It's not going to go away. So you need to be aware of what you've put out there.
Yeah.
I think so. Being professional, remaining professional at all times is critical. It's, people can find things, anyone in any field. If you're hiring someone, you're going to go look for them on social media often, and you're going to say, let me see their profile. Let me see what I can find out about this person. And you're going to check. I mean, there's stories where people were calling in sick to work, and then they're posting on their Facebook site, where they're going for the day. So you have to also be smart with what you're posting, be professional, remain professional. You're still a professional, and I think that's really important for sure. I think, the other thing that I would say is best practice is joining forces with someone. So working with others, working together is critical. You don't want to do this on your own.
Yeah.
You want to work together, unify, to get the mainstream public to see the messages, to see what you're talking about, to see what we're talking about. You don't want to give up. I think, it's hard in the beginning. You might not have followers. You might just be posting, and, your mom and your sister are liking all your posts, but eventually, it will begin to grow. And, you got to post meaningful content, come up with an area that you really like, and make friends on social. Like, so all of a sudden you can have this whole new group of friends on social.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I'm curious about is kind of looking to the future. What do you see social media being able to do for the field of pharmacy on into the future? How do you see that kind of tool getting used progressively?
I really think it can change things. I think that, social media can make changes. And I use the example with the Chuck Schumer incident, where a senator from New York, had commented. He made a comment, and he didn't include pharmacists as healthcare providers. And simple social media tweets and, posts and Instagram, and everyone's tweeting it and retweeting it. And the next day he responds. So I think that, we can make a difference versus before, where it was like calling somebody and mailing letters. And, I think that it's a lot faster to just, tweet someone and let them know. It takes less time, so it's a lot easier for us. But I think that's a small example of how social can really make a big change. And, where years ago that might not have been able to happen. And I think in the future, it's just going to continue. We know that everyone has a minimum of 8 different types of social media accounts. So people are on social media as the generations continue to grow. I mean, the generation now who is younger, they're growing up on social. I mean, all of my kids were growing up on YouTube watching. They know YouTube better than me. So, which clip they're watching, and which they love Peppa Pig, and, like they know it. So by the time that they're, 20 something, they are very familiar with social media. And that's where, we know that the main source of news is coming as well for, professionals between the ages of 18 to 30, 29, I think they're saying that's where they get their news too. So it's here to stay. I think we need to embrace it and not be scared of it, and not reject it. I think we need to embrace it as a profession, and we need to utilize it towards our advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. One thought on that, that I'm curious to get your perspective on. Would you say that there's a danger for a feedback loop within social media in regards to kind of information and the spread of information? Would you say that that's a problem, or within the field of pharmacy, would you say that that's potentially not as much an issue as it can be within other kind of media news areas?
Right now, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think there's enough news out there about pharmacy,
Yeah,
on the social sites. So I think, if there was a lot, eventually it could be. But I think right now we need to get more information out there.
yeah,
Again, stay professional, remember what you're doing. Like I said, there were medical students, nursing students who've been expelled from their programs for,
yeah,
not posting professionally. But I think that at this point, there's really not that much out there. I
yeah,
think as much as there could be or there should be in terms of campaigns and we could do a lot more.
absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Now, let's hear from some of our other MJH Life Sciences brands on their latest headlines.